Hello everyone, this is Margaret. It's my pleasure to meet David, the attorney from Portugal, to explain more on the details of the Golden Visa. And most of you are very concerned about the tax regime. So David is going to explain the updated tax regime as well as the Golden Visa. So thank you very much, David, for your time today.
It's my pleasure. That's a common question because unfortunately there are a lot of families, a lot of investors who in this situation. So it's not a news to anyone that there is a massive backlog with the Portuguese Golden Visa at the moment. With not just the Golden Visa but other immigration programs, this new government, we have three things actually I'd like to speak about that. The previous government, before they left the office, they made a very important amendment to the citizenship law because of this backlog, because of this delay processing the applications. Now, with this new amendment, people don't need to wait for the first residence card for the 5 years period to start it to count. The 5-year period starts to count from the date of the online submission. Okay, so let's give a practical example. Let's say Mr. Client A, who invested and made the submission for the Golden Visa on January 2023. Okay, the online submission was completed in January 2023. Okay, so before this client would need to wait for the first residence card to be issued, and only after the first card the 5 years would start to count to apply for citizenship. So this time that he was waiting was a completely waste of time. Now with this new amendment, this Mr. Client A will be able to apply for citizenship. 5 years started to count on January 2023, which means that on January 2028, this client will be able to start the citizenship process. The only requirement is that by the time of the submission of the citizenship application, the client will need to have a residence card active. It doesn't matter if it's the first one, the second one, or the third one. For example, this Mr. Client A, the 5 years started to count on January 2028, the client can apply for citizenship, and the citizenship process can take 1 year, 1 year and a half. So this means that starting from the date of the submission, if the client doesn't commit any crimes, and after getting the residence card come to Portugal for the 7 days, this is an important clarification, is that during this period the requirement of 7 days a year doesn't apply, because it only applies after you get the residence card. So if you don't have the residence card, you don't need to come to Portugal for the 7 days. You can come, you are more than welcome to come, but you don't need to for the purpose of the requirements. And the third good news is that so this new government, they inherit this situation with the immigration office, these 400,000 resident applicants waiting for submission, not just Golden Visa, all types. What they done is, first they made amendments to the residence law, and they reinforced the staff in the immigration office to work on the analysis of the applications. And the other important thing they done was that the Portuguese Bar Association and the Immigration Office, they made an agreement. So external lawyers who they can't analyzing their own applications, of course, but the Immigration Office and the Portuguese Bar Association, they made an agreement where external lawyers will analyze processes, applications for the Immigration Office. I can tell you that I'm not sure if this is an accurate number. It can be more, but I think 8,000 lawyers enrolled to start working on applications. Okay, this came with a specific goal. The Portuguese government, this new office, they announced that by June or July 2025, they want to have the backlog solved. The main advantage of the Golden Visa program is that you don't actually need to be living in Portugal to apply for this program. You invest your money and you just need to come 7 days a year after you get the residence card. This means that you can keep your entire life as it is in your home country, and we just require for the investor and family to come for a week to spend some vacation in Portugal every year. The disadvantage of the Golden Visa is that it can be considered for some people as an expensive program, because there's a minimum of 200,000 as a donation, 500,000 now for the funds, 500,000 for the company, or 10 job creation. I mean, it's more expensive. Other kinds of visas, such as the D7, the digital nomad, or others, you don't need to do such kind of investment, but you actually need to live in Portugal because it's a residence authorization and you will be a resident. Okay, so this means that instead of the 7 days a year, you need to be in Portugal 180 days. So half a year you need to be here. You need to get your own place here, buy a house or rent a property. You need to have somewhere to stay. I mean, you can just stay at an hotel, but you need to have a solution to come. The other thing is that you need to prove that you have the means to provide for yourself. Okay, for example, for the D7 visa, the digital nomad, you need to show that you have an annual income that outcomes 24 times the minimum wage in Portugal. At the moment, the minimum wage in Portugal, it's 820 euros. So this is roughly 20,000 euros a year. Your income as employee needs to be higher than this figure.
Okay.
Okay, so you can do your job completely remotely.
Okay.
Okay, but your income, because we want to make sure that you won't be a burden to the Portuguese services, you need to prove that you can provide for yourself. To have to pay for your own house, to pay for your own food, your own health care, these kinds of things. Okay. The thing about Spain is that even if you can get your residence much faster than in Portugal, no argument there, the citizenship, it's very different, because for you to apply for citizenship, you actually need to move to Spain, and only after 10 years you can get your passport. So it's almost double the time than in Portugal. For people who are just looking to get the residence card, it can be a better solution for them. At least, I'm not going to say better, I'm going to say faster. Faster solution. In terms of Portugal, if your goal is ultimately to get Portuguese citizenship, both for you and your family and your kids and your future generations to come, you can get a passport faster and easier, because you don't actually need to live here to get a Portuguese. Not all funds qualify for the Golden Visa Portuguese program. So first of all, this fund, the whole purpose of the program is to gather money, to gather investment for the Portuguese economy. So one of the first ground rules is that this fund needs to be established in Portugal, with activity in Portugal. The funds invested on this risk capital fund, the target must be investment in Portugal. Okay, so it can't be a fund in the United States or in Spain or in the UK. It needs to be a fund established, settled here in Portugal. The product is a bit different than the real estate program. Okay, the funds, they are highly regulated activity. They can't be guaranteed, or else they wouldn't be called capital risk funds. So, however, what Mercan, for example, is doing is that they are going to invest with you. So they are going to be holders of participation units such as yourself. So we will have Mercan Mr. Client A, Mr. Client B, Mr. Client C. What will happen is Mercan as an investor as well, and not Mercan as the owner of the companies that will benefit from the fund, they will sign an agreement with Mr. Client A, Mr. Client B, Mr. Client C, making a promise that, well, we are all colleagues investing on the same fund. And as colleagues, I promise you that in the end of 6 years after you get your citizen, after you get your permanent residence, I will buy your shares. Okay, so the fund itself doesn't guarantee anything. It cannot, it's against the law. The guarantee that you have is by your partner, Mercan, which is investing with you on the same fund. That's how it works. So, about the non-habitual residence tax regime. The previous government, they announced the end of the program, as you are well aware. What happened is that they didn't just finish it suddenly. They give like a period of time, of a transition period of time, where people that have already pending application for residence in Portugal, it can be the D7, the D2, the Golden Visa, whatever, if they already started a residence program, until the end of the year of 2024, they can still apply for the NHR regime, okay? So this new government, they came into office like 6 months ago, and there are being discussions about them bringing back in a different format maybe, but this is just, just conversation. We didn't see any specific measures to put this into effect. What we know now for a fact is that if you apply for a residence in Portugal, no matter which type of residence, until the end of the year of 2024, if you have an address in Portugal, you can apply for the NHR regime. So it's for you to have an address in Portugal.
Yep.
Okay, you really need to have a residence. So a residence, an address, not a residence authorization, an address in Portugal.
Okay.
So, or you can have an office, or you can have a home, or you can have an apartment, a friend's apartment, buy a house, rent a house, whatever. As long as it's your address, you need to change your tax residence to that place. Of course, a lot of clients, they ask, you cannot use our office as as your address because you are not living here. And the tax authority, if they have dozens or hundreds of clients with the same address at the office, this would be trouble.